just to let everybody know on the chat board that hopefully this holds, because uh, it has been a struggle getting a signal today, and I finally got one. I kept hoping, Joe, as soon as I figured if it got dark, once it got close enough to sunset, I thought maybe, just maybe, the reception, the satellite reception would be a bit better. And lo and behold, we're here. So far, so good.
Yeah, a lot of people have been asking my wife because we were a little late tonight if there are technical problems. My wife has nothing to do with any of the technical whizzes and gizmos here to get us on the air.
That's all
She
me.
was just she's just in the dark, as much in the dark as everybody everybody else is. But I hope the wine is going down good tonight for you, Joe. A little bit less
It
hectic as
is.
opposed
It
to last
is.
night.
I mean, just I'm down in North Georgia where it snowed yesterday. By the way, just so everybody knows, I'm down in North Georgia, and I bought a house here in the mountains, in the North Georgia mountains. And what happened yesterday was I literally had let this was a bad, like, it was like a bad Abbott and Costello routine, Joe. I mean, you know, you couldn't make this stuff up. So I closed on the house, and the closings are here. It was like 15 minutes, and you were in and out and done. I drove up to the house. I was hoping that they turned the water on. I was on the phone with the electric company because I want to make sure the electricity was turned on, and they were waiting for me to just send them a copy of the deed to flip the switch, or they flip a swish. Um, so they did, and uh, I got to the house, but the water wasn't the water wasn't running in the faucet in the sink. So I said, oh, maybe I got to go turn the water, the valve down in the crawl space. And I'm hearing water running as I'm walking toward the door of the crawl space. I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, that kind of doesn't sound right. And I opened up, and what happened was that when the water company turned the water on, the pressure must have been so strong, and maybe the pipe that connects to the line was compromised, that the pipe snapped. So I had a flood. On the day I moved into my house, I had a flood. Not in the living area. This was just in the crawl space. It was only about 3 or 4 inches of water, but just the emotional roller coaster that was I did cry. I did I did shed tears. Just so you know, I am human.
Uh,
Rumors to the contrary.
I would have done the same thing.
Yeah,
But
because
I also, welcome to Georgia, Joe.
exactly, exactly. But you know what? It's gotten better today, and I think the last thing that I was struggling with was I wanted to make sure I'm able to live stream here, and Joe Rayo is watching the chat board. So if there are any problems, mention it on there, and hopefully, and Joe will pass it along to me, because I can still talk to him even if there's something goes wrong on YouTube. How many likes do we got?
And Steve LaPont says now, so the only real New Yorker who lives here is Joe R.
No, no, no. I'm coming back. I'm not here permanently yet, but I am coming. No, I'm coming back to New York. I'm just going to be down here for about the next week or week and a half, unless it starts snowing up there, and then I'll tail back in a
Can't move.
hurry.
Yeah,
Yes.
83 likes so far, Mr.
Well, good.
Chair.
Let's get it to 100, please. It'll make me feel a whole lot better after standing outside with a hose. And I'm in the woods. I mean, I'm really isolated here. I'm in the woods. I've got a
Oh,
cabin,
nice
very
rustic
rustic. I
taste
have
to it.
there's a river. It's not outside my door, but you can hear it from here. And it's within about 100, 150 yards. To walk down. As my new neighbor told me, there's big old bass in that river.
Well, maybe one day. Isn't that perfect for you, though? You love fishing.
Oh, absolutely.
Just toss the line and there you go.
He was telling there's big old bass in there. There's trout, and I'm thinking, okay, let's dance in the street. So 100 likes, if you please. I can't see the board to see if anybody's hit super chat.
97 as of this moment, 97 likes. And hey, somebody just hit the thumbs down button again. I don't know who does that
I
every
know who.
single night.
I'll tell you later. I'll
All
tell you
right.
later. Um,
100 True, Joe, you got your wish.
Thank you. Okay, and I think somebody hit super chat. I can't pull up the board, but
Yes, I will get it for you. The super chat person tonight so far is, where is he?
oh well.
Oh,
You know,
come. Oh, no, no, here, David Fuller.
thank you,
David Fuller,
David.
thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Thank you, David, very much. So let's get going here. We've got uh, there's stuff going on, and I think we're still seeing these models that are just kind of going. It's there on one run, gone on the next, back on the next run. It's a very chaotic. It's a very chaotic time. It's a very chaotic upper atmosphere. You've got a lot of things stretched to extremes, and whenever that happens, the models just don't handle things well. And I think that's what we're seeing. It's going to make things very difficult to figure out in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, I'm just looking at the chat board here and trying to see which is worth mentioning. Tim Veltman says, smart of you to move south. New York, well, I'm not going to even read that. Forget about
No politics, guys. Come
I
on.
only got. I'm only going to go as far as it's smart to move south, and that'll
Right.
be
Okay.
it.
I guess due to he's referring to the People's Republic of the State of New York.
Yes, yes.
Okay, we got it. All right, so let's uh, let's take a look at the watches and warnings tonight, Joe. Got a lot of wind being advertised in the plains and in through the whole state of Montana. Those are all, I believe, those are all high wind warnings, and yes, they are. They're all high wind warnings in the northern and central plains. We have winter weather advisories and winter storm watches up for parts of eastern South Dakota, southern Minnesota, western Wisconsin. The advisories lie on either side of that. This is a kind of strange system we're dealing with. It's this wrapped up low. It's a giant upper low and the surface low that goes with it. There's not a whole lot of moisture with it though.
A lot of the snow is confined chiefly to the Dakotas, and yeah, but you're right about the wind. The wind is just dynamic. It goes through all the way down into the South Central Plains, and what else can I say except that it's a stem winder. It's a very wrapped up storm system that is causing all of this.
Shows up really well on the satellite tonight, up in the twisting that is now moving southeastward out of Canada and into Montana. We've got cloud cover in the southeast and in Florida. You had some cloud cover earlier today. It looks like it broke out in southern New Jersey and in southern Pennsylvania down into northeast Virginia. Did you get a little bit of sun today?
I got hardly anything. It
Really?
was a very disappointing day. I was hoping to be out with sunshine and temps in the 40s. I want to get the last of my Christmas lights off the roof. And today the temperatures were even chillier today because of the cloud cover than they were yesterday. Yesterday we just barely made it to 40 here in Putnam Valley. Today our high was only 37, again with cloud-filled skies. And it
Yeah.
looks like it's going to be another cloudy day tomorrow.
We were down. I had freezing fog this morning, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's happened on 3 nights since I've been here. So apparently it's not too uncommon. Uh, and well, anyway, it burns off by like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. It had already burned off, and we broke out into some sun during the afternoon. It turned out to be a pretty nice day. I'm just trying to bring up the digital forecast map. I accidentally uh, deleted it, so I want to bring it back up so we could take a look at what the Weather Service is doing with respect to snow amounts in the northern plains. So it's just going to take a little bit. Um, take a moment here to load. Just want to say, by the way, when you move, it's been a long time since I did that. It's amazing all the stuff you have to go out and buy. I need a
Well,
spatula.
did you get your furniture down there yet,
Well, no,
or?
I actually, uh, fortunately, the house came furnished, so I really didn't have
Oh,
to buy a
okay.
stick. I didn't have to buy a stitch of furniture. I could have won it
Wow,
at the home show, and or gotten Betty
Well,
Ramsey to get me a discount wholesale.
somebody we know will be moving, I guess, within the next week. I assume
Who's
they're
that?
going to be moving. There's a gentleman who lives in Washington D.C. right
Oh,
now.
that okay. I said no, yeah, no politics, Joe. Okay, so here's the snowfall forecast map. They're going for 8 in Minneapolis, by the way. Looks like up. I can't see. They got a. Is that I-35 that runs north south there, from Des Moines on up to Minneapolis? But
Looks good.
yeah, and that's I believe that's 8. Is that 80 or 90? That
I
looks
think
like
it's
it's
90.
90. 90. So
Yes.
right in there in southern Minnesota, where we've got the winter storm watches up, they're going for some, base looks like pretty much 6 to 8 inches, and also into western Wisconsin. Amounts lighten up a bit as you go east. I pulled this on the calendar. I took it all the way into Saturday, uh, because there will be probably a little bit of snow in central and western PA. Looks like a coating to a couple of inches, and also in parts of upstate New York. Now, some of this is going to be lake effect after the front goes by. I saw a few people mention the fact, talking about the idea of maybe changing over to snow before ending. I'm sorry, I just didn't see. I looked at what I did look at today. I was wondering, where did they get this, because I'm not seeing it for
They're
Saturday
probably
morning.
looking. Excuse me, Joe. They're probably looking just at the thicknesses, because the 540 line is apparently going to go sweeping through here during the day on Saturday, and so you just arbitrarily, some people arbitrarily assume that, well, it'll be rain changing to snow. Well, it might get cold enough upstairs
But
at
not
about 10 or
downstairs.
18,000 feet, but not downstairs. So it
Yeah,
looks like it's going to be
I
more
don't see how
wet than
that's I don't see how that's going to happen. And we do see the Weather Service producing a couple of inches even down up into the Central Appalachians. But yeah, and again, a lot of what you're seeing that's showing up here in the Northeast is pretty much from lake effect. I think from once the low goes by, because the gradient is tight, and it's there's this sweeping circulation around it that's pretty broad. So I think you probably will see some lake effect out of this. The WPC 7-day rainfall. So this takes us through next Wednesday night. Going for we're kind of like a half an inch right at the coast. Higher amounts in New England. I think New England's going to wind up with more precip out of this, and amounts do tail off as you go west and south. Also, another big bulge of precip in East Texas and Louisiana, where they just got snow. So it looks like they'll probably, it's all getting melting and melting away, or getting washed away eventually with some rain here. The Northwest is quieted down a bit. Some of the rains have shifted northward into southwestern Canada. Less action in the Northern Rockies, also in the central and southern Rockies, seeing a little bit of action. But on the whole, it's getting a little quiet in the West. And now we can try to figure out. I tell you, I looked. I looked at the European. I looked at the GFS today. I still don't have any sense of continuity, any confidence in what's going to happen going forward beyond this weekend. So here's that big low. That circulation of that low covers pretty much all of the eastern United States. Again, not much moisture with this. It starts to gel up just offshore. You see the rain and the snow that's up in northern New England. But again, yeah, Joe, now 540 thickness is all fine and dandy, but if there's no low level cold air, it's not going to do you any good. So I'd be shocked if we wind up seeing even a snowflake out of this on the backside.
Yeah, I mean, it may be snowing upstairs, but by the time it gets down here, temperatures are still going to be probably at or above 40 in most areas. So, how are you going to get any kind of significant snow out of that? So, not even a cheap thrill, at least in my opinion.
Agreed. So rolling into next week, the latest GFS adventure. Now the funny thing is, when I looked at the upper air for Sunday night into Monday, that's not a half bad looking upper trough that's swinging east across the eastern lakes. And you wind up getting a low that develops out to the east. The problem is that this first system, it's so large, and there's so much energy with this, that there's not a whole lot for the next trough that's right behind it for it to work on. Yeah, it does generate some snows in parts of Ohio, West Virginia, down the Appalachians, and also a little bit of snow in upstate New York. Actually, puts out some rain over New Jersey. I always like seeing thicknesses, Joe. 522 thickness, and it's got rain on the GFS is showing rain over New Jersey on Monday. A 522 thickness. How brutal is that? Anyway, that pulls out. Then we've got another system along about Tuesday night, Wednesday. It looks like a little weak cold front goes by, and now we move into Thursday. And I heard somebody else was talking about maybe some snow for Thursday. I don't know. I mean, that's going to be off the European if it happens. And I think one of the things that we're seeing here is the two models are really both handling the block differently. It's hard for me to envision how you're going to take a load to our north when you've got a big blocking upper high sitting over Greenland and pushing into Western Canada. The European is respecting that block. The GFS is not, and you can see it here on the upper air. I mean, this is a really strong blocking high that's up there. It's amazing. We got this big blocking high in Greenland. We've had more blockiness in the last month and a half than we've seen in 10 years. And we've only been able to produce one storm out of this. But that block is there, and the GFS doesn't respect it as much, so tries to take a low right into it, whereas the European maybe has the better idea with the idea of something more suppressed and further south.
Well, I don't, I will say this. I posted yesterday on my Facebook page a little summation about the split in the vortex, the polar vortex, and one half of the world is really frigid, Joe. I mean, China and Europe,
Yeah.
parts of Japan,
Mm-hmm.
they are really bitter. And people who have been looking at this, they've been saying, "Oh, the vortex split. We're going to get real cold real soon." No, it doesn't look like that's going to be the story now. It looks like at least for the next couple of weeks, temperature. The only place where it looks like it's going to get cold to any degree will be where it's getting cold right now, out over the plain states. Other than that, though, it looks like temperatures locally are going to be either at or near or even a bit above normal
Well,
for
that
next
doesn't
week or
mean it
two.
can't snow, though. I mean, all it needs to do is be cold enough when whatever storm systems impact us. The problem lately has been the block has been so so dominant that not we the weather across most of the U.S. has been very quiet, and for the last couple of weeks, we do see the GFS trying to undercut the block with a couple of systems here going into the last week of January. There's two of them actually, and a third one that's lining up behind it. So again, the block is going to be key. And I think when you look at the European has the block just kind of sitting there in Greenland and over the Davis Strait. Here's the system for Saturday. There's the trough behind it, that upper low that's in northern Illinois, and that's for Sunday, and it opens up and moves through here on Monday. Again, doesn't have much to work on, but that block is going to try to force, I think it's going to try to force these weather systems to go out underneath us. It would make sense that that's the way things should go. If you're talking about, if the NAO is negative, and on the latest ensembles from last night, all the members pretty much are negative right through the end of the month. I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to see trying to take a low that goes up toward the lakes. I think that's going to be problematic.
Now, on the chat board, Barry Goldberg writes, "I'm a big time," and he's got big time in upper caps. "I'm a big time snow lover, but my gut tells me no measurable snow here for the balance of January. I'm trying to avoid disappointment." And Barry, I'll keep mentioning, I've been saying it since the start of the season, and I'll keep saying it until the season comes to an end. I honestly think this is going to be more of a backloaded winter. I really don't think, I didn't really see much happening for this month of January. I think February and March will be our months for wintry weather, and I think still that we're gonna see one big storm that's going to make up for all that we have lost so far, save again for that 10 and a half inches we got in mid-December.
Right.
But it's not going to be all that much, I think, this month of January. But I think once we get into February and March, things are going to be changing real quick.
By the way, the Arctic Oscillation, there's one member of the Arctic Oscillation today that went 6 standard deviations from the mean negative. And the one thing I would mention, this was something that Judah Cohen mentioned about the fact that when the Arctic Oscillation, was so, 4 or 5 standard deviations from the mean, that when you looked at that, that should have meant, very cold air moving into the United States. But it's so negative. It was so negative that it actually almost was having the opposite effect in keeping temperatures actually above normal. And it just goes to show sometimes when these teleconnections are stretched out to extremes, the atmosphere can get awfully weird on you. The NAO is negative and has been, pretty much since the start of December. That's going to continue through the end of the month. Now, this is the one I mentioned the other day, Joe. The PNA is actually going to go negative by a couple of standard deviations of the mean, and I think that I go back to what I said yesterday. If something is going to try to come out in the southern stream with this Pacific North America index now and going into a negative mode, that's going to want to try to bring a little ridging into the east. Maybe that means that things are not going to be as suppressed. And on the other side of that, you're going to have the NAO pushing down, feeding maybe a little bit of colder air from Greenland and eastern Canada. It'll be interesting to see how those two wind up interacting when we move into those last 10 days or so of January.
We'll see. We'll see. But there's not much. I remember one professor in college, he said sometimes forecasters have these periods. And if you're if you're working for, let's say, the Weather Service or whatever, you just call this easy money weather. I mean, you just can relax for a little while. And we've certainly been relaxing here ever since the year began.
Yes, we have. And by the way,
I still have a few patches here and there of the snow from December 16th.
Do you?
So tomorrow will be no, not tomorrow. This weekend will make a month, and I don't think what I have in those it's you could these are places that are shaded, perpetually shaded because of the low sun angle,
Mm-hmm.
and it's in those areas, I guess, where the snow likes to hang out for the longest period of time. I mean, 99.8% of my property is snowless, but a little bit over here, a little bit over there, you see still some patches lingering from that snow of a month ago, in spite of the temperatures, which on Christmas morning rose into the 60s, and some of the fog and the rain, and we had still just a teeny tiny little bit of snow lingering over the last 30 days or so.
Jess Harden is asking about snow in Alabama. He's getting excited.
He's always asking about snow in Alabama.
But he's getting excited because he sees it on the 330 hour of the GFS. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily go out and buy a new shovel over something that I saw on the 330 hour of the GFS. I will tell you this. I mean, the GFS continues to try to show, it spreads out some rather cold air, and it tries. I'm just looking at this off camera here. It's got a 504 thickness into Iowa, and the 540 line goes all the way down into central Alabama. But yeah, I mean, it's got a suppressed southern system moving across the Gulf. For God's sakes, Joe, it's got snow down to the Florida Panhandle. If we have to sit here begging for snowflakes, it's snowing down in Biloxi and Mobile and in those places, I think some people are going to be extremely upset. Look, it's too far out. I think the one takeaway that you might want to get out of this is the fact that perhaps starting with this system for Saturday, it's going to start the ball rolling so that we'll have maybe more weather systems to deal with. But we've got to get some amplitude in the upper air, because a lot of what's coming through in the east next week, for example, is on the weak side. So, all these short waves are running around. You got all this energy running around, but it doesn't do you any good if they're not going to at least attempt to phase together. So I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. I don't know where we're going in the next couple of weeks. There's too much chaos in the models as far as I'm concerned.
I see something for they have a closed upper low over the Northeast and at 288 hours. If you want to look that far out, that's the 25th of January. But I don't think it really does anything to us uh, precipitation wise.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait. Let me just acknowledge the super chat hitters tonight. David Fuller, of course, we saw you hit earlier. Thank you very much. William Fisher, new to the channel. He says this is now my new go-to weather show. Glad I found you guys. Welcome aboard, William. Thanks very much for hitting super chat. Joe and I really do appreciate it greatly. Jason Schaefer, don't forget by the way that Jason's got his podcast that he puts out. Uh, uh, I don't know, Jason, are you doing it every night or every other night? But when you do put out that your podcast, um, we're definitely worth a listen to. And also Marduk 427 hitting super chat tonight. So thanks everybody who's hit super chat. And also we got 129 likes and 208 viewers. Not too shabby a viewer number on the fact that weather-wise we're kind of we're kind of snoozing here.
Marduk 427, by the way, Joe, has had a message for you. It says, well, hope you love it here in Georgia. The weather here can be crazy. You'll find that out as soon as you live here.
Well, I told
Best
you
wishes to you and your fam.
I had thank I had freezing fog the last couple of nights. It snowed here yesterday up in North Georgia, so that was really nice to see. I had nice big white flakes, so that was pretty cool. So let's do a little bit of Briller Jeopardy to wrap it up tonight. You ready?
Sure.
Okay, so let's see. The category is Scott Briller, by the way, is out doing COVID runs, and he says that it's just crazy just how busy it is at some of the local hospitals. So just bear that in mind, folks. And from a personal standpoint, two of my kids have it. And a number of other people that I know, this is, it kind of knocked them for a loop. So if you haven't gotten it yet, try to keep it that way. Okay, you don't want to fool around with this.
I
With
think the big problem,
COVID.
Joe, for a lot of people now in terms of the COVID situation are the people who have been trying to get an appointment to get the vaccine, and in some cases have literally spent the entire day sitting at their computer, just continuing to, hit buttons and trying to find some place that will accept them or
Yeah,
make an
no, I know
appointment.
it's very
Yeah,
tough. Um, yeah, we'll come back. Let's come back to that. Let's do this, and then we'll come back to it. What is the easternmost state capital?
the easternmost state capital.
Hmm.
Um, I will. How about Augusta?
Right, Augusta, Maine. Very good. The
Okay,
easternmost capital in the easternmost state. What is the westernmost capital?
okay. Um, well, yeah, I'd like to say someplace in Washington State or Oregon, but I'm wondering whether or not this is a trick question and maybe longitudinally, maybe Sacramento is actually further west than Oregon and Washington. I'm going to say Sacramento.
Honolulu.
Really? Is that true? Oh no, Honolulu. Ah,
Honolulu. Land of
I
Goshen.
forgot to take into account the two. See, I was thinking contiguously.
Yes, no, I know. Um, what state capital has the highest elevation?
Mm-hmm. Denver.
It's the Atchison, Topeka, and it's the Atchison, Topeka, and
And I don't know. I don't know the song.
Santa Fe.
Oh, all right.
It's Glenn Miller, for God's sake. What state capital was the first to host the Olympics?
State capital to host the Olympics.
Hmm.
The only, I mean, New York, it was Lake Placid, but that's not the state capital. And then Los Angeles is not the state capital of California. What other place hosted the Olympics in the United States? Atlanta?
Atlanta.
Hotlanta.
Just a stone's throw away from where I am. Name the four state capitals after presidents.
The four state capitals what?
The four state capitals named after presidents.
Oh, um, is one of them Jefferson City?
You are
Jefferson,
correct.
yeah. Um, Does Washington D.C. That's a
No,
that's a national
that's
capital.
not a state
No,
yet.
yet. Lincoln, Nebraska.
Lincoln, Nebraska. That's the second. You got two left.
Okay. My mind is like doing a Rolodex here, trying to go through all the presidents. um, Johnson, no, not Johnson City. There's no there's no such capital as Johnson City,
No, there is a Johnson City, Tennessee.
and also a Johnson City, I think, New York.
Right, but there's no,
Uh,
you,
yeah, I know.
as a state capital, you doesn't have to call me Johnson. Um, no, you got two left.
I'm trying. I'm thinking here.
I could give you the states.
All right.
Well, look, one is a southern state and the other one is a Midwest state.
Well, you see now, Tim Veltman put up Lincoln, Jefferson City, Madison, Wisconsin, I guess, right?
Right.
And what's the other one, Tim? And Jackson.
Jackson, Mississippi.
Thank you,
All
Tim.
right. Well, here's your bonus question for tonight. What is the only state capital that is three words?
The only state capital that is three
Three
words?
words.
Well,
Well,
like a two-word, like a two-word place would be like Baton Rouge.
right.
So you're talking about a three-word state capital.
Right.
Salt Lake City.
And you nailed it. So you didn't get to pay the penalty. As if I had asked you what is the latitude and longitude of the wreck of the Hesperus. Then you would have had to, then you would have had to pay the penalty.
Where does Colonel Bleep live? On
Right,
00
exactly.
Island. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So just interesting. Maybe we didn't talk about the vaccine because yeah, it's tough. And I mean, did they not? They lowered the age down, the group down for 65 and older in New York, but it's. I was talking with a couple of people that are already eligible, and saying just what you said, Joe. It's almost impossible to find a place that where you can get the vaccine.
I mean, I'm concerned, of course, about my mom, who's 80, who's still with us, and she's 88 years old. I'm sure your mother,
Hmm.
too, would like to have the vaccine. She's up there as well. Thank you very much, Chairman Briller, for the super chat. And he says, "Good luck with the house, Joe."
Thank you. Yeah,
Um,
it's tough, and then at the same time, you don't want this stuff sitting on the shelves. So
Correct.
you're dealing with in areas where some people are hesitant to get the vaccine. Well, okay, that's fine. That's your business, but would do you let the vaccine sit on the shelves if you've got someone that wants it? Shouldn't they, even though they might not be in the, they're not, it's not their turn yet? Do you was
it's
is it
so
isn't it better to just give it to give it to someone?
it is so stupid
Yeah.
and so ironic at the same time. Stupid and ironic that here, maybe 3 months ago, we had heard, I think, Dr. Redfield of the CDC say he frankly didn't think there was going to be a vaccine until the middle or latter part of this year. Then, of course, came Operation Warp Speed. We got the vaccines. Several companies have come out with vaccines that are better than 95% effective,
Right.
and they make them. And where are they? They're sitting on shelves in 90 below zero temperatures, and nobody's getting them because The
logistics and state politics, because each state is doing their own thing, and yeah, it's crazy. And by the way, just to wrap this up, Johnson and Johnson. There was late this afternoon. Johnson and Johnson's been working on a one-shot vaccine, and they announced early results of their trials. The safety efficacy is good, is very good, and it showed antibodies developing even in a low dose in the group that they did. I think it's a phase one. This was a phase one or a phase two trial. I'm not sure, but they should have phase three results coming out at the end of the month. So if it's a one shot vaccine for Johnson and Johnson, that's going to put it out there in big numbers. But we don't. The U.S. doesn't always do things, you know, easy. It's always seems to be a bit messy, but I don't know. We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks.
Well, I don't know about you, but I mean, like in the current regime, I am not going to be available to get it until sometime later this year. So
Well, no, in New York. Well, hold on. No.
yeah,
Well, you're going to be 60. Aren't you 65? You're going to be 65.
I will be 65 in the summer. So hopefully by then the rules will have changed and everybody will be getting it by then. So
Yeah. Well, I'm
I
only
can.
60. Yeah, I'm 62. So I'm
Oh
going to
well,
be.
you're not going to get in. You're
I
not going
will.
to get into 2025, Joe.
Yeah, right, exactly. Exactly. All right. Where is it? Oh, my mouse just froze. Oh, that's interesting. My mouse just froze. I can't turn the show off. Oh, okay. um,
Do the commercial and let's get out of here.
yeah, I'm doing it. I'm getting it. Give me a second here. The Joe and Joe Weather Show, brought to you as always every night by Omni True Value Hardware, Long Island's largest rock salt provider and provider of everything you need when it comes to dealing with winter storms. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, 631-756-1125. They are just north of the Southern State Parkway, by the way. So Joe and I will be back tomorrow night. Thanks for everybody for hitting super chat. Hold on, let me get Joe back here.
Scott D comes out on the chat board. He's got the best line of the night. He said, Scott D says they're going to give out those vaccines at the Met Stadium, that City Field. Yeah, that's one of the places where you can go and get a shot. They're going to give it out at the Met Stadium, but you can't be a Yankee fan.
Oh, right, okay, nice. Hang on, I'm trying
Well,
to get us back on the screen here. There we go. Yeah. Well, on the other hand, this will be the first time that they probably could fill, if there were vaccines over there, probably could fill the stadium at City Field. Did I say Shea
that's
or
right.
did
They're
you
doing
say
that also
Shea?
at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles too.
Yeah.
So
All right. Everybody, have a great night. Thankfully, looks like we'll be able to do live streams here, Joe. So I was really getting nervous today, not getting a signal, but um, I'm holding the thing toward the satellite just the right way. So looks
well, good.
we'll keep our fingers crossed that we continue to have good luck here. So I'll see you tomorrow, folks. Have a great night.
Good night.